In a far-off village, surrounded by cracked earth and faded hopes, there lived a boy no one noticed, and no one expected anything from. His name was Iqbal. He didn't have much, no father to guide him, no money to dream, no fancy shoes to walk in. Just his tired hands, a sick mother, and a heart quietly waiting for something, anything, to change. The villagers had a name for him. They called him, the Lost Cause. Each day, Iqbal would wander into the forest to collect firewood. While other kids ran to school with clean uniforms and loud laughter, he walked barefoot through thorns and silence. But one day, something happened. Something that would quietly shift the axis of his world. He tripped. He fell face first into the mud, his bundle of sticks scattering across the path. And nearby boys? They laughed. Loudly. Cruelly. But one man did not. An old schoolteacher named Mr. Salim saw everything. He walked over, kneeled down, and helped Iqbal to his feet. He didn't offer pity. He offered a sentence that would echo for years. You don't belong in the mud, boy, you belong with books. Iqbal didn't know it yet, but those words planted a seed. A seed that would break through rock and ruin. A seed that would one day bloom into a forest of change. Music swells slightly, strings begin to rise. Narrator. The next morning, Mr. Salim visited Iqbal's home. Iqbal's mother, pale and coughing, opened the door. I want to teach your son, Mr. Salim said, gently. She was surprised. Shocked, even. But he's never studied, he's too old. Too old to start, or too precious to waste, the teacher replied. That one conversation became a lifeline. Iqbal started attending school. Only for an hour a day. That was all his life could spare. But for Iqbal, it was everything. He sat at the very back of a noisy, bright classroom. His hands trembled the first time he held a pencil. The alphabet on the board looked like another language. His classmates whispered, giggled, even mocked him. But he stayed. He stayed because something inside him had woken up. Something that said, try. Just try. Each night, he would return home and light a small oil lamp. The room was dim. His book was old and torn. His voice was unsure. But his eyes were wide with wonder. His mother listened as he read aloud, even when the words came out broken. And slowly, something beautiful began to happen. Music softens, then builds gently. Narrator. Iqbal's writing, once shaky and uncertain, grew steadier. Mr. Salim began staying after school to tutor him personally. He taught him not just letters and numbers, but confidence. They practiced speeches. Wrote poems. Studied history. And though progress was slow, every step forward felt like climbing a mountain. Iqbal no longer walked to school with shame. He walked with purpose. And the village began to notice. Some mocked him still. But others watched in silent respect. One child's quiet courage had started to ell. Let me take you to a place few have heard of. A village, small and forgotten. The kind where roads are dusty, dreams are distant, and silence is loud. In this village lived a boy named Iqbal. He wasn't famous. He wasn't talented, at least not in any way people would notice. He was just a boy. Born into hardship. Raised by struggle. And wrapped in the quiet ache of being invisible. No one in his village thought much of him. They said he was slow, pointless, just another poor kid who'd grow up, work in the fields, and disappear. But you and I, we know something they didn't. We know that destiny doesn't shout. It whispers. It waits. It watches. And for Iqbal, destiny was about to knock. But not with fireworks. Not with miracles. It would knock the way it always does. With pain. With failure. And with one unexpected hand reaching out in the mud. Music shifts to a softer, emotional string underscore. Narrator. Iqbal's father had died when he was 5. His mother, a kind woman with tired eyes and a cough that never left, worked as a seamstress when she could, but often, they had nothing. Each day, Iqbal walked into the nearby forest, barefoot, collecting dry sticks and branches to sell in the village for a few coins. He carried the wood on his back like a soldier carries his wounds. No one saw him as a student. No one saw him as someone with potential. They saw him as a shadow in the background of life. One morning, as he carried a particularly heavy load, his foot slipped on a stone and he tumbled into a muddy ditch. His stick scattered. His shirt tore. The laughter of boys nearby stung like bees. "Clumsy fool," one yelled. "Maybe the mud is where you belong," said another. But amid the laughter, footsteps approached. An old man. Tall, calm, with tired but sharp eyes. Mr. Salim. The village schoolteacher. He didn't laugh. He didn't scold. He simply offered his hand. And then, he said something that would change everything. "You don't belong in the mud, boy. You belong with books." Music gently swells with emotion. Narrator. That night, Iqbal sat silently under the stars, repeating those words to himself. "You belong with books." He had never heard anyone speak to him like that before. Not as a burden. Not as a mistake. But as someone, with possibility. The next morning, Mr. Salim knocked on Iqbal's door. His mother answered, coughing into her shawl. "I'd like to teach your son," he said gently. "If you'll allow it." She looked at him in disbelief. "He's never been to school. He's too old." "He's not too old," Mr. Salim smiled. "He's just, waiting for his chance." And so began the first chapter of a very different story. Sound of chalk on a blackboard, faint classroom sounds. Narrator. Iqbal entered a small classroom the next week, clutching a pencil as if it were a sword. He was 12 years old, surrounded by 6-year-olds. The letters on the chalkboard made no sense to him. The alphabet swam.